One of American Airlines' Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft has had a difficult start to 2025, having been involved in multiple diversions since the new year. The plane is a 787-8 variant bearing the registration November 819 Alpha November and is on the ground in Dallas at the time of making this video. Unless things change in the next few days, it has not flown since February 8th. In January 2025, Simple Flying reported on a minor incident involving this aircraft and its flight from Amsterdam Schiphol to Philadelphia. The 787 took off and began its journey across the Atlantic, but eventually diverted and returned back to Schiphol. The Aviation Herald reported that the crew had asked to return to Amsterdam due to an issue with the aircraft's flaps. It was planned for the plane to fly to Philadelphia the following day, but this was also unsuccessful. This was due to a reported hydraulic leak. Its return to the US eventually took place on January 10th. The aircraft arrived in Philadelphia and was scheduled to leave for a flight to Dublin a few hours later. According to 1 Mile at a Time, the Dublin-bound flight was airborne for less than an hour before diverting and returning to its origin airport. It was then taken out of service for several days. The plane re-entered service on January 13th after 3 days out of action, with its first flight being a transatlantic service to Barcelona. This flight went smoothly, but the return service was cancelled before it could leave the ground. The Dreamliner eventually left Barcelona on January 19th, having spent a few days parked at the Spanish airport. American Airlines attempted to get the jet back to the US after this time, but it also ended up being diverted back to its point of origin, and the aircraft spent another 4 days on the ground in Spain before finally returning to the US on January 23rd. In this instance, November 819 Alpha November flew back to Dallas-Fort Worth International rather than Philadelphia. DFW is of course a major hub for American, and the airline has a maintenance hangar there. After arriving in Dallas on January 23rd, it flew to Philadelphia on January 30th to resume its usual transatlantic duties. These restarted smoothly with an uneventful round trip to Madrid. However, the jet again encountered problems during its westbound flight from Zurich, again resulting in a diversion. With the Zurich incident, this would mean 4 diversions in 25 days, with 19 of these days spent on the ground due for repairs. Then, after eventually returning from Zurich to Philadelphia on February 5th, the jet's next flight to Tulsa was also diverted, making an unplanned stop in Dallas. The jet would go on to operate a few short domestic services, but this ultimately ended with a flight from Phoenix to Dallas on February 8th. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.